My name is Lenore Birkman, and my age is, do I have to tell? I'm 89. My dad, fought in World War I. He thought he was the original Yankee Doodle Dandy. And he just loved this country. And so apparently he was really American through and through. Well, my mother was very young when I was born. She was 18 years old. So she was like an older sister in many ways. And she was a fun person. My mother just was a flapper. And so she would entertain us oftentimes by doing the Charleston, which she was great at. And we were just taken with her. And she played the ukulele and she played the piano, and so we had many times where we sang and just had a fun time. And a lot of times on Saturday, it was the custom then that Saturday kids went to the movies. Well, my brother and I didn't want to go to the movies. It was more fun to be at home with Mom. The way I got into nursing was really, I think, a stroke of good luck, because as the war went on, the graduate registered nurses went on to become Army, Navy nurses, and there was such a shortage of nurses in the country that a wonderful congresswoman from Ohio, from Cleveland as a matter of fact, her name was Frances Payne Bolton. She established what was called the U.S. Cadet Nurse Corps. And because of her establishing that, I got, like the returning GIs, I got my education free of charge. Uncle Sam paid for my education, which was fabulous. And of course, when I joined, I thought, I'm going to be Florence Nightingale. We went to the same junior and senior high school, and I knew who he was, but I'd never talked to him in school because he was a year ahead of me. When I got through with my nursing school and I went back to Cleveland, and I didn't really quite know what I wanted to do, but I needed to earn a living. So one of my friends called and said, there's an opening in a doctor's office, She said, just for the time being, just so you have some money coming in, why don't you apply for it? She said, you're more than qualified. So I went, I talked to the doctor there, and he hired me. And one day, a Mrs. Birkman came into the office. And I looked at her, and I thought, whose mother could she be? And it suddenly dawned on me that she had to be Owen's mother. So on her last visit to the office, I just kind of blurted out, and I said, are you Owen's mother? And she said, yes, how do you know him? And so I explained, and the next day, who called me on the phone? And so that began the big romance. He was probably the more romantic than I. But one of the things that I have in my apartment, even today, is a beautiful record, a '78 record that I had mounted because after we had dated for, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, somewhere in there, he came to my house with this record. The title of the song is So Far, and it was written by Hammerstein. It was in a play called Allegro on Broadway, which never made the big time. But this song is a beautiful, romantic love song. And so that kind of, I think, sealed his fate. We moved in, and he had not been well for several years, and that's why I wanted to be out of the house. And so in 10 days, he passed away, which we certainly never anticipated. And the doctor just asked, he said, oh, we can leave him on the ventilator. I said, but then what? Nature will take its course. I said, and if we take him off, because he'd had a very big stroke. And I said, and what if we take him off of this ventilator? And he said, in a few minutes, he will die. And I said, take him off. And I turned to my 3 kids and I said, do any of you object to that? And they said no. And so fortunately, we were in the room when Owen passed away. And it was a very peaceful death. And as a friend of mine said, and she was absolutely right, it was grief and relief. Relief that he was through being so ill, but grief because I'd lost my partner. And then, everybody said, well, you want to move back to where one of your kids. I said, no, I'm not leaving my apartment. I just got here. It's just, I can't pick up and go. I just have to stay. You bite the bullet. Yeah. And I think that everybody goes through that in their own way. There's not a standard practice when you lose your spouse. For me, I would say that maybe for 6 months, I was doing things like automatically. This had to be taken care of, I took care of it. That had to be taken care of, I took care of it. But I would say I was like in a fog. I was doing things automatically. Mm-hmm. And then once I started getting back to myself, really, I said, okay, I have to do something. I just have to get out of this. So I convinced one of my friends to go on a trip with me. And we went on an elder hostel trip to New Orleans and had a wonderful time. And so then by that, I just worked myself through that whole grief process. Mm-hmm. I was living by myself with no relatives in Cleveland. And I said, at some point, I have got to move. And this is the time to do it. Mm-hmm. And so my 3 children were wonderful. Each one said, come here. But California's too far. Buffalo is too cold. And my daughter is in Maplewood. The other 2 are boys. And so naturally, I came here. It was a very good move, I must say. People in South Orange have been very friendly and welcoming and encouraging me to, get involved in things, and I can't tell you how I appreciate that. I don't know who you're going to show this to, this film, but if it's going to be shown to seniors, I would just like to tell them that if they have also to make a move to some place that is away from what they've been used to for many years, that they have to develop a positive attitude, and they have to try, if they're able, to to push themselves a little, to make new friends and to make a new life for themselves. Mm-hmm.